This is Police Orion with the GIU Broadcasting Unit. Today I will be speaking with Oswen Carty and the Director of Energy Kenrick Burke. Today we will be discussing the electric vehicle project as well as other projects that are included with this one. Mr. Burke, what is the electric vehicle project?
Hi, good afternoon, Paulisa and the rest of the viewing public. My name is Kenrick Burke. I'm the Director of Energy in the Ministry of Communication Works, Energy and Labour. We just wanted to take the opportunity to bring the public up to speed in terms of where we are with the pilot project. In 2019, roughly 51% of the island's fossil fuel importation was consumed by the transportation sector, which is a significant contributor. And in 2019, August of 2019, the government would have actually instituted a tax exemption on the importation of hybrids and electric vehicles. With that particular exemption, 100% electric vehicles are exempted from the duties and consumption tax, while if it's a plug-in hybrid or electric hybrid vehicle, you're exempted from the duties, and then if it's other hybrid vehicles, you are exempted from the consumption tax. Now, the question you would ask, what does this mean in actual numbers? Effectively, if you were to import a vehicle that is costs roughly 8,000 US CIF, as in cost including freight to the island, which is roughly 21,000 EC dollars. If you were to import an electric vehicle of that cost, you would pay roughly $23,000 EC to receive that vehicle landed. If you were to actually, which is effectively a saving of roughly $8,200 as compared to importing the regular internal combustion vehicle. If you were to import a plug-in, you would have a saving of roughly $5,200, while if you were to import other hybrid, you have a saving of roughly $4,000. So persons can save significantly in the initial cost. Besides the initial cost, you have savings as in terms of the maintenance cost and also savings in terms of the operating cost. What we've recognized is that a lot of person view an electric car to be a lot different than the ICV. So what we'd have done, we'd have embarked on a pilot project to kind of uncover some of this information to see what users of an electric car thinks of it in comparing to ICV. Now, the car that we currently have is a 2019 Nissan Leaf. Now, that car has a 110 kilowatt 147 horsepower motor, and it's powered by a 40 kilowatt battery. Now, what does this mean in terms of your driving? For those persons who likes vehicles that have a quick acceleration, this particular car can actually go from 0 to 62 meters an hour in roughly 7.9 seconds. So it has a fairly quick acceleration, just like your regular cars. Additionally, of importance to persons is the range. The vehicle has a range on the highway of 168 miles, or roughly 269 kilometers. Based on our tests, what we recognize is that we are getting slightly less because of our terrain. Roughly that range represents, if you were to give a barometer in terms of distance, if you were to drive from the AF gas station to the secondary school, which a full loop is roughly 18 kilometers. So you would have been able to actually, on a full charge, be able to get 15 round trips with that particular charge. But unfortunately, because of our terrain, we are getting roughly 12. Right, which is still significant for such a vehicle. So a lot of persons be worried about the range of the vehicle, but if you're making that trip 12 times, that is quite significant before you can actually do a refuel.
The public transportation survey was mentioned previously. Can you tell us more about this survey?
In terms of the pilot project, what we're aiming to do is, as Mr. Burke pointed out, 50% of fossil fuels imported to the country goes to transportation. What we're aiming to do with the pilot project is help reduce the amount that is spent on fossil fuels and make the transportation sector more energy efficient. So in the project itself, what we're looking at is a cost-effective analysis between an electric vehicle and an internal combustion vehicle. We've done this analysis, and what we did was we did a loop from the A&F gas station to the Mount Secondary School and back. We had both vehicles of similar engine size and weight, and we drove them simultaneously with the EV at full charge and the internal combustion vehicle at full fuel capacity. So from this study, what we got is that it is cheaper to drive your EV than it is to drive your internal combustion vehicle. It is actually, it's 40 cents per kilometer for your internal combustion vehicle, whereas for your electric vehicle, it is 25% per kilometer, which is almost half. So you'll be saving almost half the money that you would normally spend to fill up fuel. So from this analysis, we've already seen that it's more cost effective and more efficient to drive your EV vehicle. Another thing that we're looking at is driver acceptability of electric vehicles and a public transport survey. Where it pertains to the public transport survey, we have not yet gathered enough information to give results at this time. Whereas for the driver acceptability survey, we've gathered some information, and we could say that there is a large amount of interest from the public in electric vehicles. We're also looking at changing out the government fleet as it pertains to the trucks, the cars, to make the whole transportation sector more energy efficient.
As it relates to the government fleet, what we are embarking on as well is to do the analysis to see the feasibility and whether or not it makes practical sense to actually do that change out. So we'll be analyzing from a standpoint from the cost savings associated with using electric vehicles as opposed to the ICVs, and if that is feasible, then it's something you can actually recommend down the road. In addition to the exemptions that I mentioned earlier as it relates to the vehicles, there's also exemptions on the transports. One of the things that persons may be worried about is how long does it take to charge the vehicle. With the fast charge port, you can actually charge the vehicle from 20% charge to 80% charge in 1 hour. So in 60 minutes, and it's fully charged. You also have the option of Chica charge. So you can use a 7 kilowatt wall mounted plug at your home, and it will take roughly 7.5 hours to charge. So simply plug it overnight, next morning you're ready to go. So the concerns that you may have as in relation to you ending up somewhere in the road, no electricity, no charge and so forth, similar to a fossil fuel vehicle where you see the light on E, and you still have some reserve. The vehicle is the same, so it gives you sufficient time so that you can make the adjustment required to charge your vehicle. So from my point of view, because of the incentives that has been put in place by the government, because of the cost savings that you can achieve, both in the initial costs and also as it relates to the maintenance and upkeep of the vehicle, it makes it an ideal solution. In relation to the exemptions for the 100% electric vehicle is for a 5-year period. So starting from August last year to 2024, a 5-year period. While the exemption on the hybrids is only 2 years. So we are almost a year into that at this point. So I'm encouraging persons another year to go to make the use of the exemption itself. Based on the uptake, I think that will guide going forward, whether or not there be an extension or not. So it's based on what comes out of it and the analysis at the end of the day, whether or not it's beneficial for the country as a whole, what decision we made as it relates to the continuation of the exemption.
I'm with Ashley Chewett, who is an owner of an electric vehicle. Ashley, I just want to ask you about your experiences that you have about owning a vehicle compared to another vehicle.
Just been amazing. I got it for, I think it was $6,000 US. Brought it over with another vehicle because my mother got one as well. Hers was $7,000, and we're just driving around with no gas, So yeah, it's amazing. My mother had a Mercedes before, and I think I put it, just because of driving around the island so often, I put it in about maybe 250 a week. You know, so now charging, from what I've been trying to calculate, it's about roughly 300 a month electricity. And yeah, I just passed the gas station twice a day, you know, with smiling and grinning and laughing and enjoying life, you know. So yeah, the car gets about 70 miles per charge. So that's more than enough, you know, miles to get around the island and do whatever I have to do. Sometimes I'll charge it the following night, that same night, and then sometimes I might skip a day. But it's been incredible. It's been really, really incredible. No oil change, no spark plugs. I got 2 flat tires, though. That was a problem because the Leaf doesn't have a spare in the back, you know, so I had to order a spare. But yeah, it's been great. Absolutely incredible.
How has it been getting used to driving an electric vehicle? Because I know it's quieter and there's other different things about it as well.
Yeah, I hear some people talking about you can't hear it, but I mean, when you're driving a car, the wheels are turning, and you're gonna hear the car, like there's wind blowing. You know, you can hear the car coming. It's not like it's Batman or something, you know. So yeah, that has been a problem. The only thing I think I've been doing is trying to conserve as much energy driving. Like when you're going downhill, you have it in the eco mode or whatever, and it kind of, you know, so yeah, it recharges the battery when you're going down. So sometimes I play with that. Sometimes I might push it a little bit, you know. But regardless, when you take it home, you're gonna have to charge it. I'm actually thinking about going solar soon.
Okay.
So if there's a way to get that going in the next year or so, to drive a car that's powered by the sun is insane, especially in the Caribbean. It would be great. I don't know if that goes to your point, but
I think this is something that we'll be discussing and seeing how best we can actually move forward in that area as well. So it's just discussions at the moment.
Oh, okay.
I just want to add one thing as well too. If somebody is looking to import a used electric car, one thing I think is important to note before you import the car is something they call the state of charge of that vehicle.
Right.
The state of charge is really a measure of, I guess, the battery life.
Right.
And I would encourage persons to purchase a vehicle with a state of charge that is at least 80%.
Right.
Because the battery, as time goes by, the battery in terms of its capacity reduces. So if you buy a vehicle with a low state of charge in terms of your range, so you will find yourself recharging on a regular basis. So, you know, if you're importing one, try to have one for a state of charge that is greater than 80%. So Ashley would have actually given us rough cost, 6,000, 7,000 US.
Right.
And as I say, if you were to import a full electric, what will happen? You just pay a 5% transaction fee. So that would have ended up to be 7,000 some, you know, just in terms of bringing in that vehicle. And you're enjoying the reduction in the fuel cost. So over time, that would pay back for itself.
It's like having a free vehicle to a certain extent. You know what I mean? I want to say something about that state of charge and a couple of places where I got it in America. I bought you guys got yours from England. I got mine from the States. You can go on Craigslist. That's where I found mine, on Craigslist. And there are tons of leaves everywhere. I saw some leaves in California. That might be a little bit difficult to get to Miami to transport it here, but they were about like 4,000 US. You know, with a full state of charge. You know, the state of charge. I just want to touch on that for a moment. When I got mine, you have 12 bars that you start out with. That's the pristine level of the batteries, and then after a while it degrades. So I bought mine with 11. So generally I would have had 100 miles, but now, no, excuse me, I think I would have had 80 miles, but now I have 70. You know, so because Montserrat's so small, it's so perfect for these because you're not going anywhere. You know, what I think the cars average maybe 4,000 miles a year, something very, very small. So I'm hoping that the car battery is hardly going to degrade. Like, for what? Where are we going? You know? So the only thing that would push it is the hills a little bit. You know, we have high hills. But so battery degradation. I'm sorry. So yeah, Craigslist. You try to find one that you have one owner or two owners. Just check it out, and the most important thing is to know about is that battery degradation. And especially if you find one that has a new battery that they exchanged it on the exchange program, I would totally just snatch that up and run to Montserrat as quick as you can.
And in addition as well to, as part of the tax exemption for the next 5 years, starting from August last year, if you are actually required to import a new battery, you still also have that concession that you're offering.
Oh, that's
so you
great.
just pay the 5% concession fee. So a lot of things has been done to push in that direction.
Yeah, I hope they extend that because I'm sure I have my battery for another 6 years, hopefully.
Right.
Hopefully.
Right.
It has. I've been riding for 6 months and no loss of battery whatsoever or mileage yet.